All right, the draft lottery finished not too long ago. Exciting stuff. If you asked me before it all went down, where did I want the Raptors to select? I probably would have said, and I tweeted this out, anywhere from 5 to 8, I think would have been very good. The Raptors were slated, I think they had something like the seventh or eighth best odds of landing number one. So I said anywhere between 5 and 8 would be a really good place to land. I'd even consider, if we were going to get into the top four or not, and we did. We got fourth overall. So to kind of go over the draft, it's pretty much four guys and then the rest of the draft, and that's not saying that this draft only has four guys, but it's pretty much four guys that are gonna go in the top four spots. It just depends who's gonna go and where, and Cade Cunningham is probably gonna go first overall. We got Evan Mobley from USC. We got the two Jalen's, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs. Interesting to see where they end up. But pretty much with Toronto picking in that fourth slot, they're going to get whatever is left over after the first three. So depending on who goes in the top three, they're going to get the fourth guy out of that bunch. Now, that's not to say that the Raptors, maybe they fall in love with a guy and, they maybe move down, or maybe they just stay at four and they take someone else that they really like. So the thing there's a lot of value, I think, in the top four picks in this draft, like I said. And then there's a little bit less value in the picks 5 to 10, for example, or 5 to 11, or whatever the case may be. But I think having a pick in those four is of a greater value than having, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever the case may be. And that's not every draft. Some drafts, the values of the first and second player are the best, and then it kind of drops off in 3 or 4. Some drafts you might have where there's 7 or 8 guys, and then after that it drops off with the 9 guys. So now the question is, who do the Raptors take? First guy I'm going to look at is Jalen Suggs, who went to Gonzaga. Former quarterback in high school. Excellent vision. He really knows how to thread a pass to a teammate, whether it's a bounce pass, chest pass, full court pass. But often something that kind of gets lost in his game is his defensive effort. So opponents shot just 33% against him, which is 0.71 points per possession. He has his size. He's 6'4", so he's not exactly the tallest player, but he should be able to guard ones and twos. And he should be able to switch on to some threes, especially in today's NBA, where maybe the threes are 6'5", 6'6". Like I said, in today's NBA, and he's someone who can play both guard positions, so point guard and shooting guard. So if, for example, if Toronto were to take him, he would probably be a shooting guard with Fred VanVleet running the point, and then Jalen Suggs can obviously take over, when Fred VanVleet needs a quick blow or whatever the case may be. He has great anticipation in passing lane, so 1.9 steals per game, 3.5 per 100 possessions. Per 100 possessions. Like a lot of guards, he does get into foul and turnover troubles. He averaged 2.8 turnovers at Gonzaga, and he had 11 games where he had 4+, which is quite a bit for a team. Gonzaga was the favorites at the start of the year, and having 11 games with 4 more is quite a bit. His 3-point shooting leaves something to be desired. He was less than 34% from there, but he's an excellent competitor. He's not the best defender, but he will give you everything on defense that he can. He's a great teammate, great motivator. He's already a leader. He's a clutch player. We saw the big basket that he made. I believe it was against UCLA, if I'm not mistaken, to win the game. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Jalen Green. So he has the potential to be one of the most explosive players in the NBA. He is extremely athletic. He shot 70% from 5 feet and in, which is in and around what Ben Simmons does around the basket. And forget about what Ben Simmons did in these playoffs, because he was quite off and mentally not there. But 70%, close to 70% is very good. And remember, he played in the G League, so he wasn't playing against college kids necessarily. He had a lot of kids who were supposed to go to college on his team. But he played against grown men this season because he opted to go to G League. I believe he decommitted from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. He's a solid three-point shooter at 36.5%. He can always obviously get better at that. And he's at his best when he attacks the basket, like all athletic dudes. Got to get to the hoop, draw fouls, get to the line, and make your free throws. He needs to do a little bit better off screens, so he doesn't get skinny all the time. He shows sometimes a lack of fighting through screens and sometimes goes under screens when maybe he should go over and vice versa. So that's a part of his game that he's going to need to fix. Otherwise, defenders are going to, target him and go after him every game. So he was only 28% from shots, 10 to 15 or 10 to 19 feet from the basket. So that's a mid-range. That's something he's going to need to get better at. He could be a 3-level scorer, but that's just a part of his game that he's just going to need to get a little better at, something that he could work on this summer to get ready for the draft and obviously getting to the NBA. And he's going to just need to bulk up a little bit more. At 6'6", a small forward, he's going to be guarding a lot of big dudes. If he gets caught up in pick and rolls, he might be guarding, 6'9", 6'10" guys where he's going to be able to have to hold his own for at least a little bit. The third guy I'm going to look at is Evan Mobley. He's 7'2", so he's a big boy. Center, Pac-10 Player of the Year, Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, first team all Pac-10, like you name it, and he did it this season. He's a great rim protector without really committing too many fouls. So 2.9 blocks for 1.8 fouls is really damn good for guys anywhere, whether it's, pros, college, whatever the case may be. He was almost 57% as a roll man to the basket, which is also outstanding numbers. Opponents shot 38% against him in the post. 12-14 from three, something he's going to have to get better at. 52% from the mid-range, and he's going to need to gain weight and strength for the next at the next level. Kind of does remind you a little bit of Chris Boucher, I think. He's got some height to him. Obviously 7'2", he's even bigger than Chris Boucher. 7'2", but he's going to need to bulk up because right now he's almost a carbon copy of kind of what Chris Boucher is, except Evan Mobley, I think, had a little bit more accolades at USC, and he obviously, for those who don't know, he played with his brother at USC as well. So that's kind of eased him in as well. But he really does have potential, and he's actually really good with the ball, like handle-wise, and for a guy that's 7'2", he's extremely good. The last player I kind of want to talk in depth about is Davion Mitchell. So probably I would say he's the best defensive player in this draft. If I had to compare him to somebody who either played in NBA or does play in NBA, I think he has a lot of, and I'm not saying he's going to have a career like Dwayne Wade, but he's kind of similar to Dwayne Wade. He's not the tallest guy, but he can get out there. He can defend a little bit, block shots, stuff like that. So he only allowed 0.56 points possession on pick and roll with a 34% turnover ratio. I'm just going to read some of the stats because these are mind-boggling. 0.76 points per possession in isolation with a 44.1% turnover rate. He shot 43.6% shots off the dribble, 44.7 from three, and he attempted a lot of them, 4.7, so that's almost 5 threes a game, and he essentially shot 45%, which is extraordinary. And he was 43.5% on all catch and shoot shots last year at Baylor. He needs to have a little bit more control on offense, and he's most likely a secondary playmaker. He's also going to have to get to the line a little bit more. I think he shot something like 2 free throws a game, and I think there were 11 games where he didn't get to the free throw line at all. And his height, his size worries me a little bit. Like I said, he's only 6'2", so he's not exactly the biggest guy, but he's really strong, so he's able to handle his own against bigger shooting guards, even some small forwards. Like if he had to guard Jalen Green, I think he'd be able to do that. No problem. That's taking nothing away from Jalen Green. I'm just using him as an example because he's 6'6", and Davion Mitchell is 6'2". So if Davion Mitchell had to guard Jalen Green, I don't think that'd be an issue. Now, when we take a look at some other players in this draft that maybe that I'm not going to profile exclusively, Keon Johnson from Tennessee, probably the second best defensive player apart from Davion Mitchell. Some, A and A1, pretty much the two of them. Moses Moody, 3-and-D guy from Arkansas, knock down shots. He can defend. Great overall player. Franz Wagner is another guy that a lot of people are big on, especially lately. He's kind of been the buzz. Jonathan Kuminga, I'm not too big on him. I still think he's a little bit raw, but he's another player that you can have there. Barnes from Florida State. A lot of these guys that I'm mentioning are 3-and-D guys, which is, with the NBA going smaller, a lot of guys are going to be able to have to be able to play multiple positions. So shooting guard, small forward. Kai Johnson from Texas is another big man apart from Evan Mobley. I think they're pretty much the two big men that you can expect to be taken in the top 10. All the rest of the players are pretty much point guards and shooting guards, and some small forwards. But hopefully for the Toronto Raptors fans, this gives you a little bit of insight of the players that Toronto could possibly take. And obviously, don't rule out Toronto trading out of that fourth pick with a lot of big name players kind of on the market. Bradley Beal is probably going to get talked about this summer. Russell Westbrook, John Wall is going to get talked about. Kyle Kuzma, McCallum, Dame Lillard. Like, there's a lot of guys. I'm not saying that Toronto's going to make a run for any of these guys, but you always have to keep your options open because these guys are on the trade block, and Toronto could possibly make a move, and this fourth overall pick could be a blessing in disguise for the team, really.